Hello, my people, my people. Welcome back to another amazing and fabulous, phenomenal show. This is your host, Marcus Hart, aka DJ Potential, too, for those who know me on the radio show. We're going to be getting down to business here today. I got one of my fellow military buddies, and he's doing much more than that. He is Marine, ex Marine, too, by the way. He has degrees in music and acting. He's the steampunk prince of pop, has sworn the rigor of his formal training with his electric life experience. As I mentioned, he is a Marine veteran, actor, musician, college football player, etc., etc., etc. To create pausing, energetic yet intimate direct flow. He's going to tell you much, much more. Without further ado, let's hear for Bishop Battle. So, Bishop,
Hey, how you doing, Marcus? Thanks for
I'm
having me. I
doing
appreciate
good.
it.
It's
Great.
such a pleasure to have you, my friend. So, tell us all about what you got going on. I read a little bit of run liner of like what was available to me, man.
hmm
There's so much more. It's all packed in. Like man, I an actor, musician, degrees. Like dude, you do all in one package.
I'm just trying to do as much as I can with what I've been given. I'm very grateful for the blessings I have, and I just want to use the most of my life as I can. So, thank you.
Yes, yeah, I'm very humbled to have you here before me, brother. And so thinking back on where you started
hmm
and where you are now, um what where where did it first start, like if you think back to where it first started at, what was the biggest motivator, so what got you into the first beginning.
Well, I guess if we're talking about music, the very first thing I remember was actually when I was 8 years old. There was a Chicago song on the radio. It was a Christmas party. It was "Look Away," "Look Away" by Chicago. So it was on
Yes.
the radio, and I'm standing in the living room, and I start just singing the song, and I get a little bit louder, a little bit louder, and before I know it, I'm still singing the song, and everybody's quiet, just staring at me. And that's when I realized I like this. This is fun. I enjoyed entertaining. I was always taking my you know uh, whatever I could find to try to put on a little show or something. So I always loved music. I never thought it was something I could do any more than acting was. But that's the first memory I have of thinking that I loved music. I always loved listening to it. I loved how I connected with it, like it does most people. Usually there's a song that speaks to you. And I always thought to myself, I would love to create something that makes somebody else feel like, this song is making me feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure you enjoyed the cadence that we used to have to say
Oh,
in the military too.
absolutely. I would volunteer for that all the time. And that was before I became a musician. That was right
Yeah.
out of high school. So I
Right.
was 17 years in boot camp and then, so on in the Marine Corps. And I was drawn to that as well. I loved calling cadence. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. I remember I was a little bit too over dramatic about it with the cadences. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've
got
done the
I
same
got called,
thing.
I called out for it a couple of times and had to get in the front lean and rest position. So yeah, so yeah, so like how did this transition over into acting come about? So you had a little short getting in acting for a while.
I have a great story for that actually. So I had a buddy at the time. He was a music major at a small community college where I grew up,
Right.
and they had not had a theatrical program in some years. And he said, "Hey, they've got 7 scholarships. They're awarding. You just have to audition for it." So I thought I can't believe that I may have the opportunity to get formal training in acting. So I put on every piece of kit I had, like my Marine Corps, flak jacket, helmet, everything.
Yeah.
And I went to my audition. I did the opening scene from Patton, from the movie Patton.
Oh yeah.
So I did that, and I sang a little Garth Brooks song that I knew a little bit of. I didn't have any training at the time, but I just decided to give it a shot. So I walked out, and that was that. I eventually did get the scholarship, but I found out years later that one of the board panel members, Carolyn Wilson, she was a piano professor there. she leaned over to Joan, who was the director, and asked, "Do you think he's dangerous?" But I had a great time there. I got lucky. A lot of people start college and they don't know what they want to do, or they change their majors. But I fell in love with the theater immediately. I loved acting, and then got into music. So I had my tuition paid for, but I needed a way to pay for my books. So I joined the show choir and became a music major, and just ate it up. And music, by the way, is a lot of fun, but as a discipline, it will make you cry. I don't know if anything has put me in tears like my voice lessons. Um,
Right.
it's very, very tough, but it's a labor of love. So that's how I kind of started taking it a little bit more seriously. I started writing songs. Thankfully, I started to learn how to do that. Learning keyboard harmony, music theory. So transitioning a little bit of the art to the science, and I was surrounded by such talented people to the left and right of me. To this day, wow, just blown away by the talent of the people I went to college with, and just trying to keep up with them, and just do the best I can and learn from them as much as I can.
Exactly. So like you know you have like more of like a dark electronic edge, style of music that's like quite modern, in a sense, and like
Okay.
it's more free, and and kind of touches on like more avant-garde, kind of style, like
Yeah.
how did you develop that, like you know what other styles of music was it, any other styles of music outside of that influenced this calling?
My first love was rock music. I love rock music, especially the '80s stuff. I loved Foreigner, and even like the Bon Jovi stuff, and some drawing a blank on some others, but just about any music from the '80s. But what astounded me so much from that time period was you had sort of carryover from the very arena rock '70s. Queen, love Queen,
Your Queen,
right?
AC/DC,
AC/DC, yeah.
yeah,
So, but you take a band like Queen, for example. They had this big anthem rock sound, but they were incorporating instruments. Others weren't, like piano. You didn't hear that often, like in
right,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
yeah,
So transition to the '80s, they weren't really a part of some of the more synthesizer-based music, but I loved those sounds. But I always thought, well, how do I take something like that that influences me and sort of bring that to something new, something fresh? And it's astounding now. We're so fortunate we have access to so many tools to manipulate
yeah.
sound and to produce it in such a way that's as clear as the way you heard it in your head. But really, my biggest influence by far is Radiohead. I'm a huge Radiohead
Yeah,
fan.
that's cool.
I rode around with a buddy of mine, right about the time I was starting college, and I listened to OK Computer, which was their second Grammy-winning album, and just couldn't get over how diverse these sounds were for each song. It wasn't just a guitar and drums and bass and the vocals. They were able to meld so many different sounds. Using tools, not just saying I'm going to stick with the guitar. Just they were being experimental, but the same way appealed to the sort of orchestral build that I prefer, along with this driving rock sound. I had sang in rock bands before, and I loved doing it, and I would do it again. But it seemed like it
Right.
just never could come to fruition. Trying to get things across the goal line, so I decided to take matters in my own hands and decided, let me give this solo thing a shot. And it started with a beat, and then before you know it, I'm finding the sounds that I like. Where I'm listening to my stuff and thinking, hey, this is actually sounding like I intended it to,
Right.
and just excited to share that. So I'm constantly working on stuff, and that's how it's came to be rock music. And then after that, it was like Beethoven and Mozart, stuff I was learning from the classical period into the romantic
Yeah.
period of music, using the science behind music, but influencing it with feeling. And that's what I try to do. So that's where what I have and the sound I have originates from. Those are my influences. And I'm still to this day listening to all sorts of stuff to try to find how others are doing it, and sounds I may hear that I like, and trying to be open-minded to different genres and where I can learn.
That's pretty cool, man. I really admire that about you. Like it really, it really, it really what I notice is that like it's like you take in a lot of the structure behind music, the formality that like they try to teach and preach to you like while you in college,
Yeah,
and then it's still at the same time like hey at the same time I'm still an individual, and then you find that perfect flow,
thank you.
that am I mistaken or
No, not at all.
what?
No, I love that.
So,
Thank you. Yeah,
and
appreciate it.
like when you're actually in your creative process,
Mhm.
uh you know does it you know are you like actually like in your head actually in your head like and then you actually just go right to work, or or is it like are you more of you just you work with your hands and you go.
You know what? Most of my songs come to me usually in my dreams or when I wake up.
Oh, that's cool, man. Tell us more about
Rarely,
that.
well, it's frustrating because I don't have one song
Yeah.
I have done from my dreams that sounds anywhere near as good as it did when I heard it originally.
Yeah. Man, I didn't wrote books like that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Did you have the same frustration where you couldn't figure out like why
Yeah.
is it not turning exactly the way? Can't even remember most of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sounds so beautiful at the time, and it ends up sounding nothing like that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, I'm grateful for those inspirations. But other than that, sounds are one thing. You know, hearing something in your head is one thing, but then you need to attach it to an emotion. That's what I prefer to do. And usually, I'll hear something that'll make me feel a certain way, and that's the key to the dreams I have. Is I'll feel a certain way, and I think, how can I relate that to something that I can actually tangibly explain? Maybe
Uh-huh.
not. Maybe I can't explain it, but I need a way to be able to tell that story, not just instrumentally, vocally, dynamically, try as futilely as I can to get that feeling across in my music.
Exactly.
And it's a challenge, but I usually attach that to either experiences I've had, experiences I've witnessed, maybe even imaginary things. But it's funny, the easiest songs to write are those about pain. I don't know why
Yeah.
it is, but don't we all love to hear a song that makes us hurt a little bit? And I've always felt that way. Usually, if you hear a song that touches you, you're reminded of something you felt, either something you would love to feel again, or something you've never felt before that you want to experience. So I think that's what drives me emotionally the most. I'm really the most in touch with those things. I usually get it from people I've known or loved. I've loved a lot of people, and lost some.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. People, really feed your emotion in a lot of ways, and the experiences you've shared with those people.
And has that been quite a bit of a therapy for you in a way too? So like over these years have that like like kind of repaired you and maybe matured you to bring you where you're at.
I would say as much as there is development in character and in who you are, that does reflect in music. So I would absolutely say it does. The first things I had written, I'm still retouching stuff I wrote 20 years ago, when I was first learning what music was. And I would say definitely what I'm writing now, the music I'm making and how I'm producing it, my approach has definitely matured as I have adapted and grown and matured. And I would definitely say there is a process to that as well. So yeah, for sure. And I will continue to adapt and I will continue to grow. And that's the idea. I don't want my stuff to sound the same in 10, 15 years as
Yeah.
it does now. I want to be able to grow. And as we grow as people and mature, I want my music to grow as well.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the same process with acting too, like
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, I mean, and it's so amazing like how how intertwined the two is, like same with writing, and
Mhm,
poetry, so
mhm.
like and it is a bit of a a therapy, so like like man, I can't wait to hear more of your music, man. So like
Thank you.
so so
I can't wait to make more.
so, so yeah, so you really in touch with with what you're doing, and so like you definitely have a beautiful story to tell.
Thank you.
Definitely. So like, um, so maybe like the importance of journey. Being that like we're pretty much talking about growth.
Mhm.
Um, um, how important is that in the uh, I guess in the career of an artist, and maybe maybe just your thoughts on that.
I think the experiences that we have through life, and especially if you're subjecting yourself to more of them, it gives you more experience. And almost like an artist, a kindergartner is going to paint with 5 colors, right? And
Yeah,
as you get more refined, that person grows. They're going to understand there's other colors than just the primary colors. For example,
yeah,
they're going to start to build that palette. And I think music is no different, and also an experience. Um, so I don't see my journey being any different. And it's funny. Like, I seem like I do a lot, but nothing really comes easy to me. There's always challenges. And take like this, for example. I've got this. Everybody looks at this scar on my neck, and it's like, I wonder what happened. Well, it's from a surgery.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like I like to tell people you should see the other guy. Like I,
Yeah,
that's a tough one. I don't talk about that. But it's not like
yeah,
that. So I was singing for a rock band called Continue a few years ago, and
right.
I noticed I started having issues with. I started losing my range, started losing like the clarity in my voice. It's really frustrating. So having a frog in your voice the entire time.
Right.
So I saw, thankfully, I'm in Cincinnati, a great team of voice doctors here, including current performers who are doctors who specialize in vocal performance.
Mm,
So I found out I had a collapsed vocal cord. Could have happened years ago, but it eventually had caused the vocal cords to separate. So I had to have this surgery done, while I was awake. It was either do this or I'm done. And if they do
mm,
this, they inserted something in there to bring things close together. I may not be able to sing again anyway. So it's like, well, I guess I'll roll the dice and take a chance. So
yeah.
that was 2 years ago this winter, and I was awake for it, which is a really interesting experience. Feeling air in places there shouldn't be air.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Mm,
again, it's a matter of how bad did I really want to do this, and it seems everything in my life has been that way. And you could really be upset with the challenges and the obstacles that we're faced with, but I don't think I would be who I am if I didn't have those challenges to face and to overcome. And I'm very grateful for those experiences, and that God's
yeah.
allowed me the strength to push forward. So that's what I do, and I just ask for help and do the best I can with what I have.
Yeah, man, and you got like the experience that like the life experience that has prepared you for it. Definitely, you definitely it seems like you draw a lot from that, as well as just like the power of optimism and hope and faith.
Yeah.
And like it's like is spirituality a big part of like your routine in a way not necessarily just the average but just you it's very you're very conscious of it you know
Well, I believe I'm made for a purpose, and like I told you before, I just want to do as much with what I was given, and
yeah
to whom much is given, much is expected. So I just want to use everything I have, and it is important to me, obviously, um, for that reason. But yeah, I I look to God for all things, and I ask for His help in all things, and I thank Him for all things I have. And so yeah, it is important to me, and yeah, I think it's so I have to be full of something. I might as well be full of something good,
yeah
and that's what I work for.
yeah I mean I know some people are like, well, his name is Bishop, it gotta be.
Ah, it's either that or the alien, or
Yeah,
that robot from the Alien movie. Yeah,
right.
Bishop, come on, on, man.
Come on. it's, no, it's, no, yeah, it's just a joke there, man. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah, I like
That's
that, man.
appropriate.
Yeah, so I like the steampunk Prince of Pop too. Like so when did that name come, man?
Uh,
When did you get
I
that?
don't I don't know. Like it's I try to figure out like what my I love the theatrics a lot. I do. And I'm trying to incorporate that stuff as much as I can. I'm still
Yeah,
finding my way, but if you take I love the look. I love the steampunk Venetian look or clock punk.
yeah,
An example would be, did you ever play the game Assassin's Creed?
yeah,
Yeah, I love that
yeah,
look, like some of that stuff. So, it's like that. It's a branding a branding thing, really, really to try to get gigs. So that's a
that's
I'm
cool. That's
I
cool.
I'm
Yeah,
just me, but I try to put on a show, and
right.
I enjoy it. And when I'm on stage, I'm not entirely like this. I just do what I feel like doing, and
Yeah,
um and that I enjoy. I enjoy the look of the steampunk thing, and I've got this jacket that works, and it's
yeah,
again, it's more of a more of a marketing thing,
yeah,
um, but it's still fun. It's
yeah,
like the ransom. The ransom's my latest single. I'll be sending that to you if you don't have it already. But it's a story in of itself, and I wanted to create a series, if you will, over
mhm,
time. So this one's part one. And the story, like I tried to tell on stage, I wanted to be theatrical. Well, this one is definitely encompasses that. It's a story of a father and a mother who have lost their daughter, and they get a
mm,
call from somebody with a note. As they're reading the note, you realize their daughter's been taken, and they get a call, and it gives them a demand. He already knows he can't meet the demand, but they hang up. So he has one choice. Little do they know, he was, and that's where the story kind of thickens. The plot thickens. He was somebody else prior to this, to moving to this urban town, and he ends up having to unleash something that he had not done in years to get his daughter back. But it remains to be seen. Even the lyrics can be deceiving, whether or not he actually got his daughter back at the end of the song. So you
whoa,
have to wait till the second part to really find out what happened.
man, that's cool, man. That's dope. Yeah, man. Like, oh, I gotta come to one of the shows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that
it's
makes
just one song,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's
Still, yeah, that'd be like, oh, hey, uncle, hey, come back and you gotta do it. Well, the next track, man. Come on.
you have to wait.
Yes, that's cool. That's cool, man. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
cool. Yeah. So, man, now you got me wondering, like, what happens?
Well, I've got a buddy who I played with before, and he always told me he loved concept albums.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, it's the consumerism of everything is so fast. So
Right.
um, I try to release stuff singles as soon as I can. Focus my effort on a single, release a single, promote the single, perform the single, move on to the next single. So I'm not really releasing albums. I'm afraid I'd spend like a year working on it, release it, and then about 2 or 3 months, you've got some, people listening to your stuff, but then you've got nothing else to feed them.
Right.
And it's just, I'm just trying to adapt to the times. And there's what, like 200, 400,000 songs released on Spotify every day. So
Yeah.
getting lost in that shuffle, all I want in the end is just somebody to listen to my stuff. So this gives me a way to sort of have that concept album feel. If I ever get to do a music video, it'll make the song a little more, give a little more context, I guess, with what I explained. You may not gather that from hearing the song. You should get the story, but understanding there's much more to it than just what you hear. I try to convey that instrumentally in the vocal performance and the dynamics, but sometimes you need a visual. So the idea is I want to release these over time and to continue the story of the Ransom series. This is just part one.
Exactly. So yeah, speaking of which, man, like I mean, you doing a real good job of like, as they is this as the cliche say, stay in your own lane, bro. Like I mean, you doing a phenomenal job with that. And like I mean, and that's what's going to like continue to catapult you forward, dude. Like so is there? any advice out, like, as we, get close to time here, is it any advice you can, actually offer up to any, other, like, artists out there who are hungry, to just, like, make a way, um into, doing what it is you're doing, um and just, who just got the fire for, creating great music, you know um and just still trying to figure this thing out. So,
I would say, first and foremost, um, find out what you do great at and build on that. And you can strengthen your weaknesses through that process. But as you're doing that, rather than trying to find something you want to fit into and say, I want to sound like this, like I never set out to do pop music, even if it's more alternative electronic pop, whatever happened, happened. And maybe in my head, I wanted to sound like something else. I don't, my voice in college, I didn't sound like anybody else. And I never fit in the chorus. And I used to think that was such a bad thing until I heard Radiohead and Tom York sing. And I thought, well, he's super unique. Maybe I can be unique too. I would say, whatever it is you're unique at, embrace that uniqueness. And the second thing that you can't teach, unfortunately, is persistence. It just takes a lot of work. And like it is a discipline, and you have to treat it like a discipline. And if you truly love it, that discipline and that work will never be work. You may be tired and it may be tough, but you'll love doing it. And I love every step of my journey so far, very much so.
yeah, it's like the military teaches us, mission focus. You
Yeah,
always got to be mission focused. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's good advice, brother. Really appreciate you, man. Um, go ahead and, do us a favor and just, leave that, like, tell us where we can, tell us about any projects you got coming up, and anything else of importance, you want to leave with us. Definitely use the opportunity to do so now.
Well,
So,
sure. Yeah, a few things actually. I just recently did a surprise Nirvana show, the band Nirvana. I got an opportunity to do what he wanted was Nirvana songs in my style, which I thought, wow, that's a tough challenge, but I'd love that. So, given that, I performed that, and I'm in the process of recording and releasing a subsequent EP, if you will, short collection of songs from Nirvana, but in my style. Should be coming out soon. I'm looking forward to that. So it'll be a different take on some of the Nirvana songs you've heard of old. And with that, and then my next original is another one where it's a little more of a driving song. It's called Underrated, very anthemic, plays to a lot of, my love for sports, like a couple of others I've had. So should be a really exciting, really, it's done well so far live. So I've had a really good time with that. A lot of stomping and clapping. So those are the two big things I'm working on now. The ransom is always on the back burner because that's going to be something now. Now that I've said it's a story, I am always asked about what's the next one, and I've got
yeah,
stuff in the wings for that. So I try to keep as many irons in the fire as I can. That's what you can expect in the near future. All my music is on Spotify and iTunes. Simply look up Bishop Battle and you'll find me. And the same thing with social media. It's kind of nice because other than some of the limited bishops whose last name happened to be Battle, I'm not too hard to find.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, man. And I always, I gotta find that episode from when you were in Criminal Minds.
Oh, Criminal Minds, yeah.
Yeah, man. I gotta find that. That was one of my favorite shows, dude.
It is. I don't remember what season it is. Maybe the second, but I
Yeah.
remember the name of the episode is Distressed,
Okay.
and I am the sniper at the end that kills the bad guy, and that was my
Oh,
most fun day.
perfect
Yes,
role for you. You
I know.
look like it.
It was so funny. So that was my
Oh
that
man.
that was the most fun I had.
Yeah.
Was doing that one, but it's a quick shot. But I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. That's cool, dude. I gotta back and check that out. Like,
Please,
man,
yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, you were in Lines for the Lambs and
Uh huh.
in the unit.
The
Yeah,
unit, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I liked that one too. So, what did you do in that one?
Do you want? Hey, I got a great one about that. So
Okay,
I was an MP in that, but also
okay,
Randy Couture, the UFC fighter,
yeah,
was also he was a guest star in that one, and
Yeah, yeah.
I was just one of his, like, underlings or whatever. So my chair was next to his, so I hung out with him all day, but I didn't know who he was. Like, I knew the name, but
Yeah.
I didn't know sitting next to him this was the Randy Couture. He was so nice, and I remember I noticed his ears. I could tell he had wrestled or done some fighting, and somehow I
Right.
got on. Somebody had just happened to tell me about this show called, was it Joe's versus Pros?
Yeah.
And he was so humble about it, about him fighting. And I says, it's funny. Somebody told me the story about a fighter who they had they had they had to they had to fight this professional fighter, and I was like, that'd be awful. He's like, yeah, that was me. I was like, oh, oh, you're the oh. And I realized, because he just was Randy, and he says, I'm
Yeah.
Randy Couture. I was like, oh my gosh, but he was so nice and so cool. But I was mildly embarrassed. Actually, I was pretty bad embarrassed that I didn't recognize that's who I was talking to. Super, super nice guy. I really enjoyed that, but that was my experience there. Just happened to be, his chair was next to mine, and I got to hang out with Randy Couture all day.
That's cool, man.
It really, really cool. Really not like shooting
Yeah.
a sniper rifle in Los Angeles, but that was
Yeah.
it was very, very neat
Yeah.
experience. He was a very, very
Right.
cool guy.
Yeah. Any chance we'll see you back on the screen again?
I hope so. No, I do. I've been so
Yeah.
busy with the music stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not in LA anymore. I'm in Cincinnati, but yeah, I do. I love doing it. I miss it very much, and I'd like to get back into acting for sure. And you never know, maybe this will be a segue to sort of find me some way in some films here and there. So
Yeah, it's just a matter of, like it's hard to, like have two brains, So yeah, so
it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, like like and I love there was a comment you made about one of the questions.
Oh boy.
questions. I gotta eat you up about it.
All right. Gosh.
Claiming mastery in anything is a bold claim.
Yes. Well, because you
Yeah,
asked me, like, I
but
don't.
I love that. I love that. That's you're the first one that have answered that. The way I would like it for it to be answered. It's kind of a way to see.
Well, but since we're bringing this out, if you don't mind, I want to pull behind the scenes a little bit. So
Okay.
Marcus sent me just a couple of high points to sort of think about, we were going to talk about. And he had mentioned, is there anything you've mastered? And I've responded in the email. I said, what did I say? You've got it right in front of you.
Yeah, claiming mastery in anything is a bold claim. I'm not sure I have mastered anything, but I sure try to.
I've mastered, sleeping, maybe. I don't know. Not even sure if I've mastered that, but
No.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I do so much stuff.
Yeah.
Saying I've mastered anything is it's ridiculous. I don't know many people have mastered anything, but since I've made myself so diverse, I think that in of itself, if I said I had mastered anything, I think it would say a lot about who I am, and that's not the message I want to send. That I'm mastering everything is as far from the truth.
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah, but it just shows a lot about your humility, how humble you are, man, and like a lot about your soul, man, and we really appreciate you. And that's why I brought it out, man.
Thank you. It was
You know,
funny. It's still funny.
yeah. I said that's the first time I ever got that type of response, and I said I have to mention it. I love it, man. I said, man, that's a real cool person to respond that way.
Yeah.
Like it shows a lot about your character too.
Well, cool. I've never been called cool before, so that's the first time.
Yes,
I
sir.
got a bunch of Marine buddies who would definitely tell you I'm not cool.
Right.
But thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got your contact information. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna close out the show, and then I'm gonna have you hold just briefly. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have Bishop Battle. You can find him on Reverb Nation, of course. In Bandcamp. Bandcamp is bishopbattle.bandcamp.com. That's bishopbattle.bandcamp.com. He has a Twitter on bishop_battle_ Instagram at the battle. The Bishop Battle, and at Facebook at the Bishop Battle. So make sure you hit them up at all those, including Spotify. play the Spotify music over and over and over again.
Please.
I'm going to add it to my playlist as well. So
Thank
make
you.
sure you do the same. And of course, this is the Transform You Live show. We're going to be putting this on across all of our podcast episodes, including WTLB digital broadcast. So this is your host, Marcus R, aka DJ Potential. So until next time, many blessings, peace, and lots of love.